right? The big news, Denny Avdia. Out of Washington to Portland from no, I'm just kidding. That did happen. Denny Avdia from the Washington Wizards is now going to be a Portland Trailblazer. Malcolm Brogdon and tonight's 14th pick in the NBA draft going back to Washington and the 2029 pick. But the big news of the day, Mikal Bridges trade. A lot of Bridges out there. Mikal Bridges trade to New York from Brooklyn. Now he's reuniting with his old teammates, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart. Basically, the group chat coming to life in the locker room in New York. And it was $1.5 million picks. The Knicks don't have a first. They traded it with 2025, 2027, 2029, and 2031. Rob G, by the time the Knicks have a first-round pick, your daughter will be in high school.
That's right.
So, now my initial reaction when I saw this trade was, this is the first step of the copycat league, right? This is what Celtics just won the title, right? I thought it was going to be maybe along the lines of the math. Joe Mazzulla, Rain Man himself, is always about the math. How many three-point shots are we taking? You heard him mic'd up in games 3 and 4 of the NBA Finals talking about you have to fight for your right for good shots, meaning that, we're taking, the threes that we like and getting to the rim. Well, the thing that the Boston Celtics had, I picked the Dallas Mavericks. I know a lot of people also picked the Dallas Mavericks, but the thing that the Boston Celtics had that had us tricked is they didn't have the best player on the court, right? That would be Luka Doncic, but they had the best rotation, right? They had 7 guys they felt good about playing when Kristaps Porzingis was healthy. And what did you play in the Rob G? In the playoffs, you play 8 guys, trust 7. Well, Celtics did just that. Rob G, what was your first reaction when you saw Mikal Bridges going down the turnpike to New York, the Knicks?
My instant reaction for New York is that this puts them on par with Boston for all the reasons that you suggested. Now, I know that people who listen to just the radio show might not think that I have any experience in this line of work, but if you're an avid listener of the Straight Fire Jason McIntyre podcast, you've heard me talk about this exact topic for months now, because I've been saying I want to get the Nova Knicks together, fulfill the prophecy, and now we have it. But what I've said on that podcast, which I'll say here on this radio show, is as good as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are, and they are fantastic. I think Jason Tatum is probably arguably a top 5 player in the NBA right now.
Oh, first team All-NBA.
Sure. But what makes Boston special is not Tatum and Brown, because I believe if you were to ask NBA front office executives and give them truth serum and said, who are the best dynamic duos in the NBA, I firmly believe that you could see Tatum and Brown outside of the top 5. And it's not because I don't think they're that good. It's because for whatever reason, NBA front offices are not totally sold on Jaylen Brown. You saw what the discourse was around Jason Tatum, for given his resume, the way he was talked about, you would think that he was like, Mikal Bridges, he was that kind of a level. He's a very good player, but not that great. He's a good 3-and-D guy, whatever. That was the discourse around him. What makes Boston special is not those 2 guys. It's Porzingis, it's Holiday, it's White, it's Horford. Because their 6 or 7 guys at any one moment are better than your top 6 or 7 guys. No matter which way you slice it, no matter who your top 2 are, their 6 or 7 is going to wipe you out every single time. What New York is doing is they've decided, you know what? We like Jalen Brunson. Maybe he's a top 10 player. I don't know. He could or could not be. Julius Randle, we know, is an all-NBA caliber player, depending on health. But other than that, we're going to come at you in waves. We're going to come at you with 3, 4, 5 guys, all between 6'5" and 6'8", that can defend and that can shoot. And on top of that, we are going to play an aggressive physical style that just doesn't exist in today's NBA, by and large. So with all that combined, not even factor in the OG Anunoby getting a 5-year max deal as well. So when you bring in Bridges, Anunoby, Brunson, Randall, Hart, DiVincenzo, for now, Mitchell Robinson, I like their depth. I like them to go toe-to-toe with Boston in a 7-game series, and I could absolutely see them winning and getting to the NBA Finals.
I'll say if the Knicks had made it out of Indiana healthy, right? OG didn't blow his hamstring, right. Jalen Brunson didn't break his hand, I might have been ready to pick the Knicks to go ahead and advance over the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, I may have been wrong, but I think they would at least gave them a series.
Yep.
Right? So what I think when I see this, what do they do here? Well, you know what they can do now? They can defend Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Because now you got not only OG Anunoby, but Mikal Bridges. Both of those guys are plus defenders. And then now coming off the bench, you got Dante DiVincenzo more than likely and Josh Hart.
Yep.
I think that'll probably be – those guys will be coming off the bench when Julius Randle's back healthy. I think he's inserted into the starting lineup. And then you had – some combination of Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, one of those guys starting in that lineup, and then somebody else either backing him up. And if they can't keep Hartenstein, because he has a lot of suitors in free agency, right. So maybe they're not able to pay him. Maybe they get a minimum guy like Andre Drummond or somebody who's been around the league.
Maybe they just elevate Precious Achiuwa. I think he's a restricted free agent, bring him back in as a backup.
So there you go. So I mean, if your biggest question in your rotation is your backup center
right.
in today's NBA, I think that's a really good problem to have.
Absolutely.
But what the Knicks now have from Brunson, Anunoby, Bridges, Randall, Hartenstein or Robinson, and then coming off the bench, Deuce McBride, DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. We just saw them run through the East and give Indiana, so push them to 7 games, a game away from the Eastern Conference Finals with those two guys starting and playing like every single minute.
Yeah.
Right? Playing every single minute. And let's be honest. Like, I know Tibbs gets a lot of pushback for, Tibbs is going to play. And I saw, of course, every meme is, Mikal Bridges has never missed a game. Tom
right.
Thibodeau never benches anybody. It's like, immovable force meets hard object.
That's right.
But I think when you have this level of rotation, those are 8 guys that you feel good about playing in the playoffs. And I think that, especially when you consider the new landscape, right? I know it's a ton of picks. It's 1.5 million picks. The Knicks won't pick again in the draft for a long time. They're betting on continuity. They're betting on the team that we had last year, even with all the injuries, was a great team. If we had stayed healthier, we would have been able to go through the Eastern Conference or at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're one of the last 4 teams left. It's the only way to win a championship. With that, their ability now to basically match Boston player for player, I think elevates them. I mean, they already finished second in the East, but it ain't going to be no 15-game gap between the 1 seed and the 2 seed. Because the Knicks were second in the East last season, but it was really like, if Milwaukee hadn't fired Adrian Griffin, or Milwaukee, their coaching situation was all weird. Dame and Giannis didn't get it together. If Joel Embiid has stayed healthy all year, then you're probably thinking the Knicks are a 4 seed or so. Like, I think this move takes them from, that level of conversation to right there with a bullet, number 2 in the East. And I get that it's a ton of picks, but under this CBA, this new first apron, second apron, it's going to be a lot harder to cook in the kitchen whether you're wearing one of those first or second aprons. We outlined it just yesterday on this show when we were talking about the Lakers and how they wanted to trade for a 3rd star. My whole thing is, I want $2 million, but it's not happening. Right? It's the way that the league is set up now, the way that the rules of engagement have changed. And then, look, let's say it doesn't go as well as they think. They just got Mikal Bridges just fetched 5 first-round picks. The Brooklyn Nets went all in with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. And just a few years later, they've now recouped a ton of the picks that they lost.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, if you are in that scenario, right, talking about the apron, everybody hates the aprons. I hate the aprons. By the way, I saw CJ McCollum on ESPN today previewing the NBA draft. He is a great TV analyst. I think he has a bright future in this business. He is an absolutely terrible negotiator because him allowing that first and second apron thing to come into existence, like there's a special place in a prison somewhere for CJ McCollum. I'm just kidding. But like that, I hate that rule. But any event, with the New York Knicks, let's say that they're locked in with the apron, right? They have no picks. They have all these guys. They all got to pay them all $30-40 million, whatever it is. Wouldn't you rather be stuck, quote unquote stuck, with a team that has chemistry, Say what you want about whether or not they can add guys later, they can draft guys later. If you go into this moving forward and you say, we have the Nova Knicks with Brunson, Bridges, DiVincenzo, and Hart, plus OG Anunoby. I don't care what your draft situation looks like. I don't care what your salary cap situation looks like. If you have those guys together and they're healthy, you're going to be competitive. You may not always be a championship team, but you're never going to be bad. And with the New York Knicks, given their history, I know that we're talking NBA championship right now, but I'm sure most of them will be like, hey, last season was a dream season for us. The fact that we made it as far as we did and we were the darlings of the NBA, we'll sign up for that every day of the week because we just appreciate good, hard basketball. And what this means for the rest of the Eastern Conference, we'll get to the Sixers here in about 5 minutes or so. But one thing that New York does that almost nobody else in the NBA, this side of Boston and Denver, and maybe OKC because they're so young, is they value the regular season.
Yep.
So they are going to be in the top 4 of the Eastern Conference, healthy or not, because unlike Philadelphia, unlike Milwaukee, unlike my Lakers, they are going to play every game like it matters because it does matter.
Well, you know Mikal Bridges is going to play every game.
Mikal Bridges is going to play 83 games again. I think he did that last year or 2 years ago.
No, it was last year.
Right. So they're going to be in the mix, whether they're healthy or not. I'm assuming and we're praying they're going to be healthy. But I think you saying that, you know, that second seed was kind of fugazi. That was the narrative that was out there because of all the other things that happened. No, they are going to be right in the mix with Boston in the regular season and in the postseason, all for 2024, 2025.